I received a message notification saying my wife had reserved a table at a restaurant for Valentine's Day. I thought it was the most unexpected thing, considering I usually take care of these things every year. However, by the evening, all I received was a message saying she had to work overtime. Not long after, I stumbled upon a post from her junior on Message. Only a caring sister knows how to spoil someone. A fancy restaurant, a sweet person. Tonight's cake was sweet, but not as sweet as your lips. The picture showed him and Lisa in an intimate pose, and around her neck was the necklace I gave her this morning. On the table was the wine I gifted her in the past. I might have furiously confronted Lisa, but this time, I was just exhausted. Chapter 1. When Lisa came home, I was eating a mango. She's allergic to mangoes. Just a touch would cause her skin to break out in hives. So for many years, we haven't even had mango-flavored ice cream in our house. Lisa looked surprised to see me still awake. Casually, she handed me the gift she had prepared in a flat tone. She said, "Happy Valentine's Day, honey." To be fair, she's a good wife. She doesn't just take, but also puts effort into preparing gifts for me in advance. For example, this expensive Patek Philippe watch I just received this year. I got a message from the restaurant owner on Valentine's Day saying Lisa had reserved a table. The owner has known us since college and witnessed our love story, so he's kind of a friend. I confessed and proposed to Lisa at his restaurant. He joked over the phone, calling himself a single guy while congratulating us, then asked if I wanted to try their new cake tonight. I asked, "Does the cake have mango in it? If so, let's stick to the usual, thanks." But my wife's allergic to mango. Just after I hung up with him, Lisa called. "I have to work overtime tonight. I won't be able to spend the evening with you." That night, I couldn't sleep, so I scrolled through my phone. I saw a post from her junior, George. Only a caring sister knows how to spoil someone. A fancy restaurant, a sweet person. Tonight's cake was sweet, but not as sweet as your lips. The picture showed him and Lisa in an intimate pose, his hand loosely wrapped around her waist, his smile gentle and suggestive. On the table was the wine I had given Lisa, and around her neck was the necklace I'd given her that morning. I instantly recognized the restaurant, the one that holds so much meaning for Lisa and me. George was holding the dessert the owner had recommended, and the cake had layers filled with mango puree. Chapter 2. When Lisa sat down to eat with me, she frowned and said, "Why is there mango?" I had seen George's post. I knew he was provoking me on purpose, but I was too tired. I didn't want to question Lisa or argue with her anymore. I stared at my phone screen and suddenly had a strong craving for mango. I ordered a delivery, and soon, fresh, cut mango was in my hands. It tasted sweet with a hint of tartness, a perfect balance. I've always loved eating it, but since being with Lisa, I hadn't had any. After I finished, I wiped my hands and said, "I'm going to bed now if there's nothing else." Lisa grabbed my arm and said, "Oliver, it's Valentine's Day." I looked at her in confusion and asked, "So what?" Her frown deepened as she stood up, moving closer to me. In a teasing voice, she whispered in my ear, "On a night like this, are you really going to bed so early?" Lisa has always had a cold, distant allure. After graduation, once she put on glasses, her intellectual charm only heightened that sense of distance. But tonight, I could smell a faint scent of smoke on her. I took a step back, avoiding her kiss. I said, "I just ate mango. You'll have an allergic reaction." Chapter 3. I ignored Lisa's astonished expression and walked into the bedroom, locking the door behind me with a click. Lying in bed, my phone rang. It was my supervisor. She asked, "Have you really decided to take the position? If you flake on me again because of Lisa, I swear I'll kill you." "I'm not joking." I chuckled and replied, "I won't back out again. If I do, I'll personally come to you, head in hand." The position in the company's advertising department offers a higher salary, but requires constant travel for business. 3 years ago, my supervisor had wanted me to take the role, but I refused because of Lisa. Lisa and I have known each other for more than 10 years. We grew up together. I've always known she's a traditional woman who cares about details and boundaries. Being away all the time, maybe only seeing her for 30 days a year, and not even knowing when we'd see each other. That kind of instability she couldn't handle. I once had her take the MBTI test. She didn't really get why, but she did it and showed me the result. ISTJ. Keywords: reserved, traditional, serious, self, disciplined, orderly. That's exactly who Lisa is. Just holding her hand took me over half a year. In middle and high school, my close friends thought someone like her was incredibly boring. They didn't understand why I liked her. I smiled and told them, because she saved my life, literally. Back in middle school, an earthquake affected our school. We were in class, and everyone rushed outside in a panic. I charged ahead but hit a desk leg hard and fell. She pushed through the crowd, fighting against the current to find me. She made sure I walked in front of her and followed closely behind as we ran out together. Later, I asked her, "What were you thinking? If you died, wouldn't all your dreams and hard work be for nothing?" Lisa was a bit stunned by my question. She said, "I wasn't thinking that much at that moment. I just thought that if I couldn't make it, I'd rather die with you." That Lisa, she probably never imagined that one day she'd leave me behind for someone else. I've never doubted her sincerity, but sincerity is fleeting. My supervisor must have picked up on something between Lisa and me from my tone. She said, "Who hasn't made mistakes in this world? It's easier to blame past mistakes than to fix them. Oliver, I hope you always have the courage to turn the tables when necessary." She added one last thing. "Of course, someone as perfect as me never makes mistakes. You, on the other hand, aren't as perfect as I am, so it's understandable. But no matter what, even if you lose the woman, you can't lose the job. You start in 3 days, and you've got a business trip to Argentina right away. You'd better be ready." I put down the phone and stared at the ceiling. The room was dark, and the only light came from the faint glow of my phone screen. I thought about my upcoming trip, about Lisa, and about the future. Everything seemed so uncertain, but one thing was clear. I couldn't let this heartbreak define me. I had to move forward, for myself and for the life I still wanted to build. Chapter 4. The next day, I woke up early to go to the office and hand over my current work. Lisa was sitting in the living room, her lips slightly swollen, a sign of her mango allergy. It was probably from George kissing her after eating the mango cake last night. I walked past her, heading for the door, but she grabbed my wrist. She frowned, looking a little defiant, and asked, "Why are you mad? Is it because I didn't spend time with you yesterday? I already told you I was busy and had to work overtime. I even let you know I'd be home late. The company is going public. As a woman, do you have any idea how hard it's been for me to climb my way to management? So many eyes are on me. How could I not set an example? You've always said you'd support me in having my own career. Why are you acting like this now? Yeah, this is how it's always been. I love her, so I tolerate her. Even when she was so busy that she didn't know I was in the hospital and I couldn't reach her by phone, I never said a word. Until one day I picked her up from work and her phone rang while she was doing her eyebrows. She immediately put down her half, finished makeup, and sweetly answered someone else's call. That was the first time I heard her mention George's name. It was also the first time I realized that she wasn't too busy to take a phone call, and she wasn't the reserved, distant woman who kept boundaries with men. It was just that I wasn't the person she thought was worth her showing those feelings. I pulled my hand away from Lisa and calmly said, "That's enough, Lisa. We're done." Before I could finish, her phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the screen and gave me an apologetic look. George's boyish voice came through the phone. Jess, come pick me up. It's so cold today. I don't want to get out of bed. If you don't come get me, you can't dock my pay if I'm late." Lisa's expression softened almost unconsciously. She said, "You afraid of the cold? The same guy who climbs snowy mountains at night? All right, George. Get up. You're bringing me breakfast today, remember?" I let out a sarcastic laugh. On the other end, George seemed to sense something. "All right. Tell Ming thanks from me yesterday. I not only ate at his restaurant, but borrowed one of his people too. I'll definitely work hard and send him a great gift in the future." Chapter 5. Lisa gave me a guilty glance when she heard George's words, then quickly looked away. Her fingers instinctively pressed the volume down button on her phone. You really can't help but laugh when things get to this point. I shook my head and turned to leave. I heard Lisa quickly reject George and catch up to me. Yesterday, George had a client dinner, but he forgot to book a restaurant. So I gave him our reservation. It was all for business. You understand, right? I stared at her in silence. Spending Valentine's Day with a client? Did she not find that absurd? Lisa probably didn't realize it, but whenever she lies or gets nervous, she unconsciously grips her wedding ring. But it didn't take long before George called her again, and she left citing food poisoning or some other excuse. It didn't matter. It wasn't the first time. This winter was unusually cold. Snow blocked the roads, and there was no delivery available. I wanted Lisa to make me some porridge, but I saw her put on her coat and get up, saying, "George has no food at home. I'm going to his place to cook something for him." I froze in place. I wasn't sure whether to ask what her relationship with George was or why she needed to cook for another man. But Lisa didn't give me the chance to ask. She hurried out the door without even noticing that I was curled up on the couch, feeling unwell. It was so different from when we were in high school. Back then, if I even showed the slightest sign of stress or skipped meals, she would scold me coldly. But during an emergency break, she'd somehow pull out a steaming hot bowl of rice cakes like magic. "Eat up. You'll only get worse if I don't take care of you. You're always causing me trouble." When I got to the office, my supervisor dumped a mountain of paperwork on my desk. "Handle all of this within 3 days, or come to me with your head." I worked late into the night, and when I checked my phone, I saw a draft of the divorce papers sent by the lawyer. So, in the middle of the snowstorm, I took a cab straight to Lisa's office building. But when I reached her floor, the power went out. I frowned and turned on my phone's flashlight. At that moment, I got a message from a colleague with a link. His tone was hesitant. "Isn't this the heavy metal band concert you've always wanted to go to?" Confused, I clicked the link. It took me to the poster's homepage. It was George's account. It chronicled all his moments with Lisa. Turns out he had known Lisa since high school, followed her to college, and now worked at her company. His bio read, "Being head over heels for her isn't just your privilege." I clicked on the video and suddenly understood why my colleague had been so hesitant. In the video, concert lights flashed over George and Lisa's faces. They were holding hands and kissing passionately in the crowd. My phone slipped from my hand and crashed to the ground. Rage filled my chest. Lisa and I had been together for most of our lives. We'd practically spent our entire existence together, but despite all that, I still found Lisa so unfamiliar. It felt like I'd never really known her at all. From her office came the sound of soft sobs. Lisa choked out, "I'm sorry, but we really can't." A male voice responded, I just like you. What did I do wrong?" The boy wrapped his arms around her waist, gently stroking her tear-streaked face. George kissed Lisa's tear-stained cheek, sadness filling his eyes. I watched as his hand slid up from her waist until it rested on the back of her head. And then, in the darkness, they shared a long, lingering kiss. Bang! The power came back on, and the lights flooded the room. They finally noticed me standing at the door. George said, "Ning, it's not what it looks like. I'm just too in love with her. It's not Lisa's fault." Lisa looked like she was in a daze when she saw me. Her lips were slightly parted, still glistening with moisture. "Oliver, why are you here?" I looked at her calmly, then walked over to George with a smile. But beneath that smile, a storm of emotions raged. I was done being the passive one, done with the heartache and the lies. It was time for this farce to end, once and for all. Next second, I slammed my fist into his face. Before he could even fall, I grabbed him by the collar, pulling him closer, and glared at him viciously. "This punch is for your pathetic face. I've met a lot of female pretentious coquettes, but I've never met a male one until now. Makes me sick." He opened his mouth to argue, but in an instant, I threw a right hook into his stomach. The force drove through him, making him double over in pain and collapse. Lisa snapped out of it, just about to speak. Smack! I handed her across the face. She clutched her cheek, her eyes filling with tears, looking hurt. I coldly removed my wedding ring, tossing it at her like trash. When it hit her, she finally began to sob, worthless tears streaming down her swollen cheeks, her voice rising. "Oliver, don't do this. Please, just listen to me." But I cut her off, handing her the printed divorce papers. I said, "Lisa, we're getting a divorce." Chapter 6. Lisa, disregarding all dignity, chased me all the way downstairs from the office. "Oliver, please listen to me. It's not what you think." Half the building was watching. Embarrassed, I flagged down a cab, ready to leave amid the falling snow. Lisa pressed against the car door, not letting me close it. Her expression was almost pleading as she said, "There's really nothing between us. He's just a kid. He doesn't know any better." I sneered, "He's not grown up yet. So you're just teaching him how to kiss in advance, huh?" My tone was flat. She looked at me, her eyes red as if staring at a ship that was never coming back. She choked out, "Don't look at me like that, Oliver. Please, don't look at me like that. We've been together for over 10 years. I can't live without you. George. George was just an accident. Her voice grew quieter and quieter. But then someone called out from behind her. Lisa. George has gone up to the rooftop. Come quick. She instinctively let go and turned around. I let out a derisive laugh and slammed the car door shut without hesitation. In the rearview mirror, I saw Lisa take a few steps after me, but she stopped, turning back to run into the building. I closed my eyes. Once the anger subsided, the stabbing pain in my chest finally hit me. The driver glanced at me through the rear view mirror, his voice full of concern. Hey kid, you all right? I wiped my face, turning my head away. I remained silent. Back home, I started packing up my belongings. Not long after, both Lisa's parents and my parents called me. I thought bitterly, Lisa sure is busy. She has to calm George down from jumping off a building. But she still has time to inform both sets of parents to play peacemakers. Lisa and I have been together for over 10 years. Our entanglement is deeper and harder to break than most couples. In the end, all my parents said to me was, son, we just hope that every decision you make is for your own happiness. I finally finished packing all my things. I opened the door only to be met with Lisa's devastated face. Chapter 7. Lisa looked dejected, like a child caught doing something wrong. She trembled as she reached out to hold my hand. Oliver, don't go. Please, don't leave. I can explain everything. I stared at her calmly. Suddenly, she broke down. I'm begging you. Hit me, scold me, do whatever you want. Just don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. She pressed down on my suitcase, trying to keep me from leaving. Oliver, we promised to grow old together. Our parents are expecting us to go back to Beijing for the new year this year. You can't leave me now. Mom and Dad miss you so much. I sighed and asked, what do you want, Lisa? She nearly collapsed to her knees, hugging my leg, her tears soaking through my clothes, sobbing uncontrollably. She pleaded, please give me another chance. I promise I'll do better. I didn't respond. My eyes, however, fell on the old college graduation photo that had accidentally fallen out while I was packing. That's when I noticed in that picture, it wasn't just Lisa and me. George was there too, standing in the distance under the shade of a tree, staring at Lisa. And Lisa's gaze wasn't on me. It had passed over me, meeting his. So it had started that early, hadn't it? I had thought those moments belonged only to Lisa and me, but there had always been a third person in the background. Lisa trembled slightly, unable to lift her head to meet my gaze, like a criminal awaiting a death sentence. To her surprise, I softly said, all right. She looked up at me in disbelief, her eyes lighting up with hope. Really? Oliver, are you really willing to start over with me? After thinking for a moment, I nodded and unexpectedly said, sure, on one condition. Remember how we planned to take a trip to the islands back in high school? All these years we never made it. I want us to take a 5-day vacation to the islands. How about that? Lisa immediately agreed. She threw herself into my arms, murmuring, it's that simple. Yeah, it's that simple. But I knew she wouldn't be able to do it. Chapter 8. When I thought about it carefully, Lisa being attracted to George wasn't all that surprising. Lisa had spent her entire life following her family's rules, living cautiously. From Beijing to the capital, from her education to marriage, and even having a childhood sweetheart as her husband, her future was like a peaceful, well-paved road laid out in advance. But when life is too calm for too long, it's inevitable to crave excitement. George was like a cold soda on a scorching summer day. He was rebellious, adventurous. He'd take her on night hikes up snow-covered mountains, stay up all night at concerts, kiss her at sunrise by the sea. No matter how reserved someone is, it's hard not to be swept up in such an intense, passionate pursuit. Lisa said that after our vacation, she would stick by my side every day and wouldn't let me get tired of her. It was as if she was afraid I might change my mind, so she watched me closely at all times. Usually, I'd be the one planning our vacations, but this time was different. Lisa took charge, eagerly organizing every detail of our trip to the islands. It seemed like she was genuinely excited about finally taking the trip we'd never had. Meanwhile, I scrolled through social media board. George would post something every day, practically torturing himself as he dissected his feelings for Lisa. I lowered my eyes and watched coldly. Today he couldn't hold back any longer and posted something completely unfiltered. The person she loves is me. I couldn't help but laugh. I posted something in response. We'll see about that. The day of our trip arrived. Lisa was up before dawn, bouncing with energy. She had packed her suitcase full of new clothes, all in bright colors she'd never worn before. We arrived at the airport, and as we were waiting in line for security, I saw George out of the corner of my eye. He was standing across the terminal, staring at Lisa with a desperate look on his face. Lisa tensed up, her grip on my arm tightening. I leaned over and whispered in her ear, "Remember, this is our chance to start over." But I knew that no matter how hard she tried, the past was like a shadow that would always follow us. And I had my own plans that would finally bring an end to this painful charade. As we boarded the plane, Lisa looked at me with a smile, but I could see the fear and uncertainty in her eyes. She was afraid that I'd see through her, that I'd realize she was still in love with George. And she was right. I knew she couldn't let go of him, and I was going to use this trip to finally break free from the chains of our past. The plane took off, and as we soared through the clouds, I knew that the next 5 days would change everything. Response: from now on, I'll be living on the islands with my wife. The past is like yesterday, dead and gone. Today is a new beginning. The past is smoke. I just want to hold your hand from now on. George finally couldn't contain himself and asked to meet with me in the cafe. He gritted his teeth and asked, "After everything, you're still going to forgive her? You're really going to stay with her?" I smiled but said nothing. He angrily spat out, "You're really leaving? Really moving to the islands? Why hasn't she said anything to me?" I threw the visa my supervisor had expedited for me onto the table in front of him, half joking. "Lisa and I have been together for over 10 years. She begged me to give her another chance. I told her if she could drop everything and leave with me, I'd forgive her. Of course, she gratefully agreed." I smiled, but there was no warmth in my eyes. George, furious, said, "That's impossible. I've done so much for her. She told me she loves me." He was seething with anger, but beneath it, I could still hear the pain in his voice. I stared at him coldly. George really knew how to hit where it hurt. He stole Lisa away on Valentine's Day, messaged me to reveal their relationship, and even let me catch them kissing, all to make me give up on Lisa and leave her. But he didn't realize that my place in Lisa's heart was far deeper than he thought. His schemes had all backfired on him. George, enraged, lunged at me. But what threat could a little guy like him pose? I easily blocked him, poured my coffee over his head, then without giving him time to react, slapped him hard enough to knock him to the ground. I crouched down, grabbed his hair, and forced him to look up, smiling. "Pathetic. You're really serious about loving Lisa, huh? Too bad for you. You didn't really think she loves you, did you?" Looking at his face full of frustration and resentment, I had to fight the urge to vomit. I emphasized once more that if Lisa really left with me, I'd forgive her and we'd live happily together. But if she didn't go, I'd never forgive her. George's expression kept changing. I smiled, knowing he understood. Chapter 9. At the airport, Lisa anxiously checked her phone, her lips tightly pursed. "Oliver, this time is different. George was in a car accident, and it's really serious. Can we postpone the trip to the islands?" George was certainly willing to go all out. I silently stared at her, my eyes tracing every contour of her face. Suddenly I said, "I know why you didn't come to that concert with me that night." Lisa froze, her lips twitching slightly as if trying to force a smile, but failing. She said, "That night it was George's birthday. He invited me. I couldn't turn him down." I laughed. "That was my favorite band since I was a teenager. On my birthday that year, you kept pestering me asking what my wish was. I told you I hoped to make enough money to see them live. You got mad and asked why my wish didn't involve taking you with me." I paused and continued, "My birthday wish at 18 was to see their concert with you. Don't you remember? I was at that concert that night. I just didn't know that my wife was in the crowd kissing someone else. I even sent her a message during the concert reminding her to eat something. It disappeared into the void without a single response." Lisa began to panic, her voice rising as if trying to make up for something. "There will be other chances." I cut her off. "There won't be. That was their farewell concert. There won't be another one." I looked her in the eyes and repeated, "There won't be another one." We stood there in silence for a moment. Then I suddenly relaxed, waving her off. "Go ahead. He's been in an accident, and you're his supervisor. It'd look bad if you didn't go. As for the islands," I smiled, meeting her gaze, "we'll just go next time." Lisa looked like she had been granted a reprieve. She rushed out of the airport, braving the snow and rain to catch a cab to George's side. I tore up the plane ticket in my hand and threw the pieces in the trash. Then I printed a new ticket. Destination, Argentina. Chapter 10. When Lisa woke up, she found herself lying in a man's arms. The man was gently kissing her face. Something didn't feel right. She widened her eyes. This wasn't Oliver. Yesterday, she had rushed to the hospital only to find that George's car accident was just a lie. She had been angry at first, but then he tearfully said, "Lisa, I've loved you for so many years. One last time. Can't you just stay with me one last time?" A voice inside her head kept pulling her to leave. Oliver must be furious by now. They'd known each other since childhood, growing up together. They had been married for 7 years. Everything had been so perfect. She couldn't leave Oliver. But George, his eyes red, rimmed, gently stroked her cheek. How could she turn him away when he looked at her with such devotion? Lisa suddenly felt a sinking feeling in her heart. It was like a premonition. When you're about to lose something important, there's always an almost instinctive sense of dread, like the feeling of falling in a dream from a tall building in the middle of the night without reason. She suddenly thought of Oliver's expression when he waved to her at the airport yesterday, nostalgic yet resolute. It was as if he was saying goodbye. She nearly jumped out of bed to grab her phone. George asked in confusion, "Lisa, what's wrong?" But her phone was dead. Her heart pounded as she anxiously watched the black screen, waiting for it to charge, as if she could burn a hole into it with her stare. Her panic-stricken expression startled George. Finally, the phone powered back on. As soon as it did, a call came in and the voice on the other end was shouting. Lisa was stunned. It was her mother yelling at her. It took Lisa a while to understand what was happening. Apparently, Oliver had compiled evidence of her affair with George into a PowerPoint presentation, complete with a 320 megabyte attachment, and sent it to all of their family, friends, and colleagues. The final slide had Oliver's typical touch, a photoshopped picture of her and George's wedding with a handwritten note that read, "Let's wish this pair of cheaters a lifetime of childless, everlasting happiness." After hanging up, she opened her messages. She saw that Oliver had only left her a picture of the divorce papers, with a simple message, "Sign it and send it back. It's over." Lisa collapsed onto the bed, tears streaming down her face. She had lost everything: her husband, her reputation, and perhaps the only person who had truly loved her unconditionally. In the dimly lit room, George watched her silently, realizing that his selfish actions had destroyed not only her marriage, but also any chance of a future with her. The once promising relationship between the three of them had crumbled into ruins, leaving behind only pain, regret, and a shattered heart. Chapter 14. Under the so-called brilliant leadership of my supervisor, my career was thriving. I quickly adapted to the life of constant travel. Whenever I landed in a new city, I'd take a day or two to explore, immersing myself in different cultures. It was a liberating feeling, far removed from the suffocating relationship I once had. One day, while on a business trip to Tokyo, I met a woman named Yuki at a networking event. She was a graphic designer, with an infectious laugh and a sharp intellect. We hit it off immediately, chatting about art, travel, and our dreams. For the first time in a long while, I felt a genuine connection with someone. We spent the next few days exploring Tokyo together, visiting ancient temples, wandering through bustling markets, and sharing meals in tiny, hidden-away restaurants. Back in Beijing, I heard through the grapevine that Lisa had lost her job. The scandal had spread far and wide, and no company was willing to take her on. She had moved back in with her parents, and rumors said she was in a deep depression. Part of me felt a twinge of pity, but I quickly pushed those feelings away. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with the consequences. As the months passed, Yuki and I kept in touch, sending each other messages and photos from our respective travels. We talked about meeting up again, maybe in Paris or New York. I was looking forward to it, excited about the possibility of a new beginning. Then, one evening, as I was working late at the office, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was Lisa. Her voice was weak and trembling. "Oliver, I need your help. I'm in a lot of trouble." I was about to hang up, but she quickly added, "It's not about us. It's about my parents. They're in debt, and I don't know what to do." I sighed. Despite everything, I couldn't just turn my back on her parents. They had been like family to me once. "Tell me what happened," I said, my voice cold but resigned. She explained that her father had invested in a business that had gone bankrupt, and now they were being hounded by creditors. I listened in silence, my mind racing. I knew I could help, but I also knew that getting involved again could open up old wounds. After a long pause, I said, "I'll see what I can do. But this is the last time, Lisa. After this, we're done. Completely." She burst into tears, thanking me over and over again. I hung up the phone, feeling a strange mix of anger, pity, and resignation. I had thought I was finally free from the past, but it seemed like it wasn't quite done with me yet. I spent the next few weeks working with a financial advisor to help Lisa's parents restructure their debt. It was a complicated process, but eventually, we managed to come up with a plan that would allow them to pay off their creditors over time. Throughout the process, I only communicated with Lisa through emails and text messages, keeping our interactions as brief and business-like as possible. Once everything was settled, I sent Lisa a final message. "It's done. Don't contact me again." I hit send and then deleted her number from my phone. I took a deep breath, looking out of my office window at the bustling city below. It was time to truly move on, to embrace the future and all the possibilities it held. And as I thought about Yuki, a small smile played on my lips. Maybe, just maybe, happiness was finally within my reach. Arrived in a new place, I'd send a postcard back home. My mom, having picked up some internet slang, now called me her travel frog. This time I was in Japan. My mom worried over the phone. "Son, be careful. I've heard Japan has a lot of earthquakes." I took a big bite of the mango bread I had just bought, walking toward the fireworks festival. Japan truly was a fascinating country, having once modeled itself after much of our culture, yet now it had developed its own distinct melancholy and quietly romantic essence. Under the canopy of a summer night, the Japanese fireworks festival was like a dazzling dream. The fireworks exploded in the night sky like countless shining stars, burning brightly for a moment, turning the darkness into day. I looked up, momentarily forgetting to breathe. Snapping out of it, I smiled and said to my mom over the phone, "Earthquakes aren't that common." But as luck would have it, Japan's meteorological agency issued an unprecedented warning. Nankai Trough Earthquake Temporary Information. Attention to large earthquake. All flights back were fully booked. By the time the news reached home, I had gone off the grid. My mom was so frantic she started praying to gods, even lighting incense at midnight to ask for my safety. Lisa heard the news and silently booked a flight to Japan. George was still by her side at the time. He had lost his job and been blacklisted in the industry. He and Lisa were locked in a toxic relationship, torturing each other. He said, "Don't be stupid. Even if you go, Oliver won't forgive you. Don't you understand?" But Lisa refused to listen to him. In their struggle, unable to break free, Lisa grabbed a kettle from the table and smashed it over George's head. Blood poured from George's forehead. He screamed like a madman. "He doesn't love you. Don't you get it? He never loved you. I'm the only one who loves you, Lisa. I'm the only one who loves you." But all Lisa left him with was her back. Chapter 15. Thankfully, I made it back to the country without any major incidents, though my return flight had been delayed. Before the plane took off, my broken phone strangely received a call from an unknown number. But with the flight attendants urging me to switch it off, I hung up and shut it down. Once I got home, I reassured my family that I was safe and went straight to work. That strange call slipped my mind until George showed up outside my office building. He was no longer the proud, confident man he once was. He stood there, red-eyed and disheveled, demanding, "Where's Lisa? Give me back my Lisa." Through the glass door, I frowned and looked at him like he was a madman. It turned out Lisa had gone to Japan just before the earthquake. Suddenly it clicked, and I remembered that strange call. But I kept my expression calm and had security remove George. I told him, "I don't care. She's your girlfriend now, not mine." The bad news came from Lisa's parents, who told my parents and eventually reached me. Lisa had followed the address from my last social media post, where I'd mentioned watching the fireworks festival. Like carving a mark into a boat to find a lost sword, she was searching for me, calling Oliver, using a new SIM card to try and reach me. But all she got was a busy signal. She thought I was still angry and ignoring her calls, So she chased me down to the inn where I had stayed. That's when the building collapsed. My mother sighed heavily as she told me the story. I couldn't help but remember the girl who had shielded me during the earthquake in middle school, helping me escape the collapsing classroom. A mix of emotions stirred within me. This time, Lisa hadn't made it out. She had been crushed, her leg shattered. Whether she'd ever walk again was uncertain. Over the phone, my mom cautiously asked, "Son, are you going to visit her?" I shook my head. When there was no response, I realized she couldn't see me, so I said, "No, Lisa and we have nothing to do with each other anymore." Chapter 16. After hanging up the phone, I looked out the window. This was another new and unfamiliar country. What beautiful sights would I find here? I was looking forward to it. As for the past, the events of yesterday die with yesterday. The events of today are born anew. I hope everyone finds the courage to flip the table and start over. In the following days, I threw myself deeper into my work and travels. Yuki and I continued to grow closer, our conversations filled with dreams and plans for the future. One evening, as I was strolling through a charming European town, I received a message from Yuki. She had attached a photo of herself, beaming brightly in front of a famous landmark, with the caption, "Can't wait to explore the world with you." A warm feeling spread through my chest. Meanwhile, I heard that George had finally started to get his life back on track. He had left the city and was trying to rebuild his career in a different field. The news brought a sense of relief. I hoped that he, too, could find peace and happiness. 1 year later, I stood on a beautiful beach with Yuki by my side. The sun was setting, painting the sky in a riot of oranges, pinks, and purples. Yuki turned to me, her eyes shining with love and excitement. "Remember when we first met in Tokyo?" she asked. I nodded, smiling at the memory. "I'm so glad our paths crossed," she continued. "Me too," I replied, taking her hand. As the waves gently lapped at our feet, I knew that I had finally found the happiness I had been searching for. The past was truly behind me, and I was ready to embrace whatever the future held, with Yuki by my side.